Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with a deck unboxing of the Change Tarot by Jessica Dore, maybe, and illustrated by Xaviera Lopez. So this is also another Hay House deck. If you're wondering why I have so many of these that I've been posting recently, it's because I bought a few during one of their like 50% off sales to use for a project that I may or may not share on here. Who knows? We'll see. And so I wanted to kind of see some of these little Hay House decks since I haven't really seen too many cool sales with like other publishing houses. So this just, it doesn't have anything written inside like some of the other decks that I've posted on here from Hay House, and there's nothing in the back. That traditional kind of box, nice box, you know. I think with mass-produced decks, that is something that you can kind of get, is that it can become something a little bit more sturdy. These are really nice boxes to have versus like a clamshell, or sorry, little tuck box that other publishing houses may have, which ends up, you know, either tearing or kind of getting really worn down over time. Because this is a US Games like tarot deck. And it just becomes really like, I definitely would be very careful with like a tuck box. Okay, so this is going to be, I think, a Rider-Waite-Smith kind of clone. I know, there's so many of them. But I wanted something a little bit different. And look, it already has a damaged card. That is another thing I've noticed with some of the quality with mass-produced decks is a little bit more damage to whatever card stock they may be having. So right there, this was just damaged right out of the box, and a couple of the cards have that kind of like damage already. Okay, let's talk about this guidebook though. Let's see. So pretty just similar information to a Rider-Waite-Smith, and it talks about Xaviera Lopez's take on Pamela Coleman Smith's art in the iconic Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, with which offers perspectives on the symbols and images of the tarot from the fields of psychology, behavioral science, spirituality, and old stories. So I thought it was going to be an interesting one to add to my current collection of decks. So it does have a little bit of information, which is nice, especially if you're newer to reading tarot, or if this is like your first tarot deck. It is nice. So it does kind of explain different things, but it doesn't have a ton of information. So I always tell people that, especially if you're newer to tarot or you want a deeper or more thorough understanding of a tarot deck, go get some tarot books or check some out from the library or Audible or you know, Libby, whatever you may be using. Get out there and kind of like study and learn and kind of use your own intuition to kind of connect. So it is a nice guidebook. It's not as chunky as some of the other Hay House decks I have covered on here with my deck reviews, but it is nice that the minor arcana also gets a little bit of information, which is always nice. Because I know for a lot of these little white books, the minors always kind of get tossed to the side, and they're just like, okay, that's enough. That's enough of that. So it is nice to have a little bit more information in the guidebook. So it's about 118 pages, it seems like, or 116 pages. 116 pages of guidebook. Okay, so let's look at these cards. No edging. I've noticed that a lot with the tarot decks that Hay House has put out is some of their oracle cards will have really beautiful like edging and gilding and something that just looks really nice and adds a more finished kind of look to their decks, but they're not seeming to invest some of that in their tarot decks. So this is kind of a much thicker card stock than some of the other decks I've gotten from Hay House too, so that is nice. So here we have the Fool. It looks pretty traditional to the Rider-Waite-Smith. We have the Magician. the High Priestess. So again, this looks very much a clone of Rider-Waite-Smith, maybe a little bit more modern elements kind of added here and there, but it doesn't seem to detract too much and stray too far from the original Pamela Coleman Smith artwork. So there's the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength that almost looks like instead of a lion, it's a dog. The Hermit, the Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanged Man. So it does look very similar to a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, the World, the Ace of Wands, the Two of Wands, the Three of Wands, the Four, the Five, the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Page, Knight, Queen, and King. So again, it is extremely similar to a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. If you already have one of those in your collection that you really like using, I'm not sure that I would say this is a deck that you need to have. Now, would this be a good deck for someone that maybe is not familiar with the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith imagery, that maybe hasn't really felt called to purchase one of those and maybe want something a little bit more modern? This would be a good substitute for that. So we have the Ace of Cups, the Two of Cups, the 3, the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Moving on to the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. I like the more muted palette. I think that's nice. Again, it kind of adds a little bit of this freshness, this modern element to it that, you know, older Rider-Waite-Smith influenced decks are very like vibrant and have a lot of like different crazy colors in them. So the Ace of Swords, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we have the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. Here we have the Ace of Pentacles, the 2, the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we have the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. So it does seem, again, very much almost like copy and paste of a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Some kind of modern elements as far as like more of the facial features are a little bit clearer, things like that. I think that maybe the guidebook is possibly where you would have a little bit more of an inclination towards using the guidebook, if that is something that you're planning on doing, because it does talk about, you know, a little bit more of how to utilize this energy within the cards. So here we have angry interactions for the 7 of Wands. And it kind of tells you how to shift that energy. And I think maybe that's the change is more in the guidebook to kind of help with some of those like psychological and spiritual explorations versus the actual tarot deck itself. So just wanted to put that out there. I think it's interesting. I'm not sure. Again, this is kind of like the Gustav. Dore deck, which I'm like, I don't know if I'll keep it long term. This may be one of these decks that I end up kind of passing along to a friend or something like that, that may have a little bit more use out of it than I will in my current practice. So thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that you enjoyed. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.